all about helping you not only be a better player, but also how to play better. So this week's hero that we're discussing is going to be Doomfist, and I have an awesome guest on today's show, a GrandMaster player. He's actually a repeat guest. I'm excited to bring him on here in a minute and reintroduce him to you guys if you have not seen him on the previous episode. But it's going to be good. It's going to be a good episode. It's going to be a good Sunday. And the Doomfist is a hero that has been requested repeatedly, so I'm excited to finally get a Doomfist episode happening for you guys. So if you are a more casual, average Overwatch player, if you are stuck in bronze, silver, gold, and competitive, this is the talk show for you. We break down the basic toolkit and abilities of the hero, and then we dive into the fun stuff, the strengths, weaknesses, and all those types of things. And then stuff that you can't just find online by Googling. We're going to dive into some tips and tricks on how to improve your gameplay on the hero. So this is definitely a talk show that's worth a listen to. So without further ado, let's get that opening video happening, and then we're going to bring our guest on. See you guys in a second.
Pump up the volume. Oh, this'll be good.
Grab your drink, take a seat, because it's definitely time to get on the point with your host, Malkarii.
I'll be watching over you.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. So without further ado, let me bring on our guest. We have ShockMasterOW. Welcome back.
Hello. Good to be back.
Yeah. So you were last on for, I believe, the May episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing one.
Amazing episode. And so maybe you might know a thing or five about Doomfist.
This may be true.
Maybe too. It's how to get some of those May puns in there. So for those of you in the audience that aren't familiar with Shockmaster or weren't here for the May episode, the amazing May episode, Tyler, tell us about who you are, what you do, and why you're qualified to talk about Doomfist.
So like I said in the previous episode that I did on May, I've been playing Overwatch basically since the very beginning, and I started the game in Platinum, and I've climbed all the way to 4,300 since then, peaking at top 500. And I specialize in projectile DPS. So in Season 12 especially, I played a lot of Doomfist when he was at his peak, tier, basically. And I feel like I still know a lot about him, and I've done a lot of experimentation on his new playstyle since his recent nerfs to his crowd control abilities. So
yeah, so you might know some things. Definitely more than I do. I am very basic in my Doomfist knowledge. I know he's the type of hero where you want to get in quickly and get out quickly, and you can cause a whole lot of mayhem when you jump in. And that's pretty much my knowledge on Doomfist. I know I hate playing against a good Doomfist. And Doomfist is definitely not a super easy hero to learn, but once you do learn Doomfist, you can climb and carry teams quite competently. So I'm excited to get into the information you have about Doomfist. And hi, Soul, I see you there. So before we hop into that, I would just like to remind everyone that we do an Overwatch loot box giveaway. I don't use a bot to choose a winner. You just need to be active in chat, ask questions, and we'll answer them. Just be present during the show, and I'll be paying attention to chat. And I will choose a winner, and I'll get some loot boxes to you. And it's the lunar event right now, so there'll be the fancy lunar loot boxes. So if you want some of those new skins that you don't have yet, this is a great place to score some free loot. So without further ado, let's talk about Doomfist. So let's start with his just basic. We're going to do a quick overview of his basic abilities. Then we're going to talk about strengths, weaknesses, that good team compositions, who he works well with and well against. And then the best part of the show is going to be the tips and tricks. That's going to be the real meat of the show here. So Tyler, I'll let you start with the abilities, and I'll hop in.
All right, so Doomfist, his passive ability is called the Best Defense, and basically what it does is when Doomfist uses one of his 3 abilities, he generates 35 shields if he lands them. So like if it hits a target, you get plus 35 shields, and you also get plus 75 shields for landing your ultimate on any targets. And you can have a maximum of 150 of those shields, bringing his HP up to a total of 400. And he loses 3 shields per second. So if you're not really dealing damage with the abilities, they just go back down to your normal 250 HP.
Yeah, and this is a pretty powerful passive ability to have. If you're punching people in the face, you're getting buffed up yourself, and it's really useful for those moments where you dive in. There's you against 3 or more people, and if you're hitting them, you're kind of, and it goes up to 150, I believe you said. Yep. So yeah, that's 150 extra additional health, so to speak. That is really useful in those clutch moments. So his main ability is his hand cannon, and it's you see his fist so out in front of him. It's actually like a cannon on his hand. So it's different than other heroes where you see like a gun or something out in front of you when you're running around. No, you're just Doomfist running around with your hand like this, which is ridiculous. If you think about it, Doomfist running with just his arm out, it must get tired after a while. But anyways, that aside, the hand cannon is also different than other weapons in the game because you can't force to reload it. You can't press your R button or whatever it is on your keyboard or controller. It reloads over time after you're done shooting. So you can't just force reload. So you got to be very careful with who you're shooting because you can't force reload it as you're running along. And it's very short range, I should note. It's very like you need to get up and personal in someone's face to use the hand cannon. And then the next ability, Tyler, I'll let you grab that one.
So probably his most interesting ability too is his seismic slam. And basically what he does is he leaps forward, and you could do this like from high ground, and it deals a maximum of 125 damage in a little area of effect, like semicircle, like in front of him. And the longer he's in the air, the more damage it will deal. And there will be like a number indicator below your crosshair that shows how much damage it's going to deal when it lands. Yep.
That's very handy. And then this one was one of the abilities that was nerfed or changed recently, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Rising Uppercut. Actually, I think this is also one of the other ones that was changed recently, and we'll get into that too. But basically, long story short, Rising Uppercut, you come in and you punch someone, they get thrown up into the air, and they're momentarily, very briefly stunned while they are airborne, which opens them up to you, for example, shooting them in the face with your hand cannon. So very good ability to use it strategically. And Rocket Punch, I'll let you cover that one.
All right, so Rocket Punch is probably basically Doomfist's like main ability. Like most heroes would be like their left click is their main ability, but Rocket Punch is probably Doomfist's main ability, and that's just because it has a really short cooldown. It's a 4-second cooldown, and it's his most damaging ability, and it's also his like main mobility because you can use it to get places really fast. You can use it to get high ground too, which I'll talk about later, and it has the potential to one-shot almost or most damage heroes, if not all, in the Overwatch cast. So it's fairly useful for that.
Yeah, with Rocket Punch, if you punch someone like up against a wall, like they're guaranteed they're going to die. It hurts a lot. Now, next ability we're talking about is Meteor Strike. It's his ultimate ability, and this is one of the heroes where the ultimate ability really isn't your main ability. Actually, Rocket Punch is way more important than Meteor Strike. Meteor Strike is that one where you'll hear Doomfist yell, Meteor Strike, like he announces it loudly, and then he just disappears. So he's completely invulnerable, invincible while he's casting this ability. He's just gone. He's off in Narnia. And then with this ability, what you see on your end is a huge like 2-tiered circle, and you can position it where you want it to go. And then once you hit the button to position it, that's when everyone else, the enemy team, they can see where you're about to land. So to use this ability effectively is really difficult. It's really hard to get multiple kills in this with this ability because it's so visible and easy to see and easy to get out of. Now, something to note with the 2 rings is that the inner ring does more damage than the outer ring. So if someone's in that inner ring, they're pretty much they're going to die. I think I wrote it down here. I had to write down the numbers for this one. Yeah, so the inner ring does 300 damage, whereas the outer ring, depending on where you're positioned in, it can do 20 to 200 damage. So if you're playing against Doomfist, you see this ring, you know you need to get out of it. So because this ability is really hard to use effectively as an ultimate, this ability is actually more of an escape routes type thing. You want to get out quickly, or you can use it to get up on things in buildings in different positions, which we'll get into more later. But this is more of a movement ability more than an ultimate damaging ability, if that makes sense. Is there anything else you want to add on that, Tyler?
Yeah, and I really want to emphasize, ever since because Meteor Strike also recently got changed, and the inner ring is now smaller than it was before. It used to be that you could like get free kills on low mobility targets, but it's not really true like that anymore. So it is good to just chill in the air for a while and reset your cooldowns and then come back down to your team or something. So yeah.
Yeah, Doomfist is a very strong, his toolkit is great, but his abilities each on their own aren't super, some of them aren't super effective. Like Rocket Punch is of course effective, but typically as a Doomfist player, looking at this toolkit, you want to make sure you use these abilities in conjunction with each other. They're somewhat strong on their own, but together they are extremely powerful. So that's something to keep in mind. That's the mentality to have when you're playing Doomfist, is always how to use the abilities together. All right, so on that note, let's talk about strengths and weaknesses of this hero in general.
All right, so first of all, the main thing that I find as a weakness for Doomfist is he doesn't have any poke damage, and this comes from all of his abilities being cooldowns, including his left click, basically, because you can't reload your hand cannon automatic like with the R button. You can't just like reload all 4 shots right away. You have to like let it reload itself, kind of like a cooldown. So his left click is a cooldown just like everyone else. So you don't really want to be using any of his abilities just to like poke at a choke, so to say, unlike a lot of heroes. Yeah. And you want to be using his hand cannon in conjunction with any of his other abilities. And that can be a weakness because you can't really be pressuring the enemy team as they're coming through choke. So if they're just out poking your team, Doomfist just doesn't work as well.
Yeah, he's not a poker. You definitely have to fully commit when you're playing Doomfist. You have to go in prepared to wreck everything and then quickly run out. But you can't just jab at people, like Tyler said. Yeah.
And his second main thing is that he has almost no range damage. So stuff like Pharah, stuff like Snipers, Widow and Hanzo, and now Ashe too. He tends to be fairly weak against unless you can get to them using Rocket Punch with the spacebar cancel, which we'll talk about later. It can be fairly difficult to deal with those heroes as well.
Now with Pharah, and actually, you know what, I might save this for later when we're talking about what heroes he's strong against, but there's a special thing with Pharah, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, Tyler.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
So for a brand new player, like why would they want to choose Doomfist? Like, I know it's hard for you because you're a GrandMaster, you've been playing forever, but for someone that's never even tried Doomfist before, why would they be like, oh, this is a good idea, I'm going to choose this hero?
So for lower tiers, at least, Doomfist can be fairly strong because you can get in, get a kill, and get out fairly easily. Especially since in lower tiers they're less likely to focus you. So if you get like a one-shot kill on someone, the enemy team just might not even know that you did that in time for them to come and focus you. So you can just get out right after getting your one-shot kill. Whereas like heroes like Tracer or Genji, it might take time to kill someone, and in lower tiers, because you're taking more time to kill someone, they might have time to come and get you, like while you're getting the kill. So that can be a really strong advantage for him. He's also, because of his shield gaining mechanics, he can be a very powerful carry hero because you're basically making your own healing, so to say, with the shields, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, the passive shields that come up.
Yeah.
So you're a bit more buff. I remember when the first time I ever tried Doomfist, it was like one of those elimination type things where it was just all Doomfist against... No, sorry, yeah, no, it's Doomfist. I chose Doomfist. Anyways, long story short, I chose Doomfist and then one of these like elimination round thingies, and I had no idea how to play him. Like I pressed F1, I read like the basic abilities to get a concept of what the buttons do, but even not knowing how the heck to play the character, I got play of the game, top E limbs, like gold medals across the board, and I had no idea how I did that. So he's a super difficult. He can be difficult to master and totally understand. But as someone that doesn't know him very well, you can still get picks. You can still kill people, and even not fully understanding what his toolkit does. He's really strong. So definitely a character worth trying if you have not tried him yet. Now, specifically, let's talk about who he is strong against and which heroes he is weak against.
Okay, so Doomfist is mainly strong against heroes who do not have stuns and do not have lots of mobility. So stuff like Tracer will be able to dodge your punches because her blink cooldown is faster than your punch cooldown. So she can just, if she's smart and doesn't waste all her blinks, she can just dodge all of it. But heroes that Doomfist would be good against are stuff like tanks. So they don't have as much mobility. They don't have ways to like demobilize you. Like they don't have any stuns, and you can easily land hits on them to build up your punches. So that could be, or build up your shields rather. So that can be really useful to just build up your strength while you're in a team fight. So yeah. And another hero that might be very bad for Doomfist to go against is Pharah, because you have to do some pretty crazy tactics to even like land an ability on her.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, actually, I'll touch on that now. We can talk about that briefly.
Sure.
So what we're talking about is a combination of rocket punch with canceling with the spacebar, and then uppercut. You can stun Pharah mid-air for like, I think it's 0.8 seconds now with the nerf. And in that 0.8 seconds, you can like get some like extra hits on her, be it with the hand cannon or whatever. And you could still kill Pharah mid-air. They don't know how to deal with that. They're not used to another hero coming up in their face, stunning them mid-air, punching them to death. So a more inexperienced Pharah that's not used to that, especially in lower tiers, they would have no idea how to deal with that. So that's a good way to kill Pharah. But again, proper angling, maneuvering. You need to practice this a lot to be able to mid-air, like running with your rocket punch.
And
like,
I would not even practice this because it's just not like. I would rather just ignore the Pharah and go for things on the ground. This is what I would say.
Yeah. I think one of like a really experienced Doomfist player, I think it's like Brandito, I think is his name.
Yeah.
I was watching some footage of him doing it. It was just absolute magic to me, seeing how he accomplishes over and over and over and over again in all these clips. There's no way. So this is a very like top level, like really tricky ability that maybe you don't even waste your time mastering it, but you can shut down a Pharah as a Doomfist midair. That is a possibility.
Yes.
Takes a lot of skill and a lot of practice. You're probably better practicing other
your best bet at lower tiers is to try and catch Pharah while she's like falling down a little bit and angle yourself so that you're on the same vertical level as her, and just use your rocket punch to punch her into a wall. That's my favorite way to deal with Pharah as a Doomfist. So, and I use that at a high level. But if it's easier to do that than to practice all the rollouts to get to a really high level and uppercut Pharah cobbler.
Yeah. And then that's a phrase that surprisingly is used a lot in my show. I just wanted to touch on the phrase rollout. This is applicable to every hero. A rollout is basically just the combination of abilities you use when you first like engage in a battle, or just a combination fighting someone. That is what the rollout terminology means in Overwatch, or just really any game that has characters with abilities to use, what order to use them in, what type of abilities to use, situational things, etc. It also says Pharah needs to be taken out of the game. I agree. I'm just kidding. As a Junker player, I agree. She's a good shutdown type character for everybody. Someone I want to talk about that's a really that I would say Doomfist is weak against is Sombra. If Sombra hacks you as Doomfist, you can't do anything. All of your abilities, you can't.
Just have your left click, and your left click is on a cooldown.
And you have nothing to do. So if you get hacked, the best option is just to hide for a moment, tuck yourself away. You are effectively useless. There's a lot of other heroes, at least like their main ability, at least it's a gun, they can shoot things. Doomfist, you're just entirely shut down. So I think that's your main counter. I would say is Sombra. She really wrecks you.
It's especially difficult because the main way to get Sombra to stop hacking you is to like poke her with a little bit of damage, and Doomfist poke damage, like I've touched on a million times already, is basically a cooldown.
Yep.
You can't reload it and just shoot her. You have to wait, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating. So if you're playing against a Doomfist and you really want to shut him down and he's annoying you, play a Sombra or get somebody to play
in a
Sombra.
stupid corner as Sombra and wait for him to uppercut and then hack him.
Hack him good. Oh man. So let's talk about team composition synergies. So which heroes does Doomfist work really well with on a team?
So my favorite composition specifically to play Doomfist in would be Dive. So with heroes like Winston, Diva, Genji, Tracer, Genji or Tracer. I actually had a Doomfist Tracer combo. I was actually the one playing Tracer, but it was really nice to be able to follow up on Doomfist damage as Tracer. So anything that can follow up on Doomfist's ability damage is very useful. So that's why Dive can be good. You can see like a Doomfist can punch someone into a wall. It might not kill them. Like you can punch a Reinhardt. He'll be at like half HP. And then a Winston and a Diva can just jump right on that and follow up on the damage really well. But you can also play him in a Death Ball. And I would change my play style then to maybe play a bit more defensive. And he can be a very effective peel hero in that way. So you can wait for their team to run into you. Like when their Rhine tries to attack your Rhine, you can punch him, you can uppercut him and have your Rhine do an Earth Shatter. If the enemy team's running Dive, their Winston dives your Ana. You can punch the Winston out of the way. You can uppercut him out of his bubble so you can kill him and other people can target him. There's a lot of really versatile ways that you can use Doomfist. So he fits in a lot of compositions. But my favorite way would be to play him with more divey heroes.
For sure. And like, so if you have a Doomfist on your team, let's say maybe you're not specifically the one playing it, but like really any hero, pay attention to what the Doomfist is doing because he's the space maker, he's the wrecker. He'll set everything up for easy kills. Just go in and help him finish off characters. Follow the Doomfist around, which can be hard, especially if they're being a wily Doomfist and using the rocket punch and uppercut and all their abilities with it. They can really zoom around the map. It can be difficult. So, like Tyler said, Tracer's a really good hero to do that with because you can zip around as well. But if you're playing with the Doomfist on your team, you wanna hang out with that Doomfist because you're gonna get some good picks. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of my own things. Who else would he really?
So Ashigaru actually has a question.
Oh yeah.
He says, "Are there any spots that Doomfist can hide for a surprise punch that people might not be aware of?"
Yes, a lot.
Yes,
everywhere. So many.
The main thing about that is like the best way to like quote unquote hide for a punch would be to like set up on high ground. So stuff like Numbani, when the enemy team's going through streets, you can set up on the high ground above that and wait for them to engage on you. You can charge up your punch as you're jumping down to punch them, and that's a good way to surprise enemies. Other than that, if your support is hiding, is on point or something, and there's a corridor right next to it that you can hide out of LS in, or line of sight, then you can wait for the enemy team to dive them, and you can surprise them by just popping out of the corridor and helping your support out by peeling in that way. So, yeah. And that goes with the Doomfist peel playstyle, which is really nice. Mm-hmm. And it's good for engagements as well.
So Doomfist, even though he's a very melee range type hero, he works so well from high ground because people don't expect you to just drop out of nowhere. You can mid-air trigger your seismic slam ability, and then as you're falling, position it correctly. Let's say that Malkarii sees you coming, he starts running away. Seismic slam is a cone ability. So you aim yourself to land actually a couple feet away from the hero, because if you aim to directly land on them, your cone's smaller at that point. You might miss them. But yeah, just smack down. Now, the reason why I was getting excited is saying yes. There's so many spots. Doomfist is one of those heroes that you can sit on rooftops. You can get into all these weird nooks and crannies, and this is more difficult, higher level. And there's actually tons of guides on YouTube I recommend checking out. Actually, Brandito, I mentioned him earlier. I believe he has a series of YouTube videos that show.
Brandito has a lot of very good dives, or very good guides, yeah.
Very good guides on Doomfist. He's someone that I reference. But he has guides specifically on how to use Meteor Strike and all these other abilities to get to weird, funky rooftop situations, or places where heroes typically can't even go at all. You can get there with Doomfist. And people will definitely not expect you to be coming from there, because as far as they know, like there's a visible wall there. You can't get up there. So definitely check out his videos if you want to learn how to get in those special nooks and crannies. It would be so much easier to show you if I had footage or videos to show you, which I don't at the moment. So check out his YouTube videos. Brandito is the name. And yeah, there's some really good footage there. It's just hilarious the places you can get to at Doomfist, and no one's expecting you to come from there. If played correctly, Doomfist is such a wily, annoying person to try to counter. So on that note, I think we covered all the basics. So the best part of the show is the tips and tricks from a experienced player. Oh no, Ashley Gar, I'm sorry, I don't know why Nightbot's mad at you. I'm not sure what you linked. I'm sorry that you're mad at me. I'm sure you're fine. Oh, you tried linking the channel. Sorry, yeah, the Nightbot on this channel is set to not allow links. Don't worry, you're not in trouble. I'm not mad at you. That's just Nightbot being a derp. But yeah, thanks for trying to link the channel and chat for everybody. Actually, while Tyler starts talking about tips and tricks, let me grab the link and I'll link it for people. I should be able to link it. Take it away, Tyler.
All right, so the first thing that you need to know about Doomfist before getting into any high-level strategy ever is Doomfist, his Rocket Punch, which is his most inconsistent damage ability because it's just hard to land. You can cancel it with the spacebar. So while your punch is still like traveling, you can press the spacebar and it'll launch you in a mobile, like it'll, how do I say this? It launches you in the direction that you're facing, basically. So you can hold down your punch and then you can wait for it to almost end, and then you can turn your camera and you can press your jump key and it will launch you in that direction. So you can turn while you do this, and you can also there's a lot of guides on this, but there's a lot of, basically the idea is there's a lot of slopes that you normally can't walk up, but if you do the punch jump on that, it'll launch you up. So that can be really useful to getting to stuff like Farah. It can be useful to getting the high ground, and it can be useful for setting up seismic slam combos. So you can punch and hit something on a slope. Like I said, it's hard for me to explain where all of the punch jumps are because they're in really weird locations on really weird objects that would just be better for you to just look up on a YouTube video somewhere. There's a lot of really good YouTube videos. Some of those don't work anymore, but a lot of them still do. And they're really good for setting up seismic slam uppercut combos. So you can jump up to the high ground and then seismic slam on someone and then uppercut them right out.
So one I can think of off the top of my head is in Hanamura, that rock that is in that, like the main entrance area right before the gazebo. That's a good place to shoot yourself off of. And on that note, I've heard Doomfist referred to as like, you know, like Tony Hawk, that pro skateboarder. So basically treat every map, when you're playing Doomfist, treat every map as like your own skateboarding ramp area. You just skate off everything. And you know what, to learn this, just try things. Like if it looks like you might be able to do it, try it out. Like of course, like do it in quick play, do it in arcade. Don't do this in comp, don't practice that in comp, but try it out and just see what you can skate off of, what you can shoot yourself off of, at what weird angles. And the more locations and areas that you know, the more effective you can be, and you can really catch other players off guard because they don't expect you to do that because maybe they don't play Doomfist, they don't know. But yeah, so there's just so many. Yeah, so treat everything like you're Tony Hawk, you're a pro skater, you're just skating off things. That's the best way I can word it.
That's very true. That is how. So like, I like to learn a lot about my heroes before I go on YouTube and look stuff up about them. So I actually learned a lot of Doomfist's like rollouts and jump spots before I looked stuff up on YouTube, and it's actually like really fun to just go around in a map, like just start a custom game, just set your rocket punch cooldown to 0 and just like run around the maps and just experiment and see what things you can jump off and what things you can't jump off and what roofs you get stuck on for whatever reason.
Yeah, I've done this with Doomfist with my one of my friends, and there's some weird places I got onto that I didn't know how to get off of. It was funky, but yeah, custom maps on any hero are a great way to practice things. Just try it out. Set it to where all your cooldowns are totally just 0, and then you can just try things out over and over in rapid succession without having to wait. Doomfist is definitely one of those heroes. Hop in a custom game and just like try all the things on the different maps, and yeah. Even if you have like just a handful in your pocket that you know of, you can be much more effective
It's
than
true.
a Doomfist just like me. When I first played Doomfist, smashing buttons, just trying to kill things, not super effectively, but it still kind of worked. But I died a lot. Yeah, to practice in custom maps.
Okay. So my next big like basic like all around tip, good for any rank thing, is I like to plan out. So since Doomfist isn't really that mechanically demanding, what I like to do instead of like thinking about how I'm going to kill my opponent, I think about how I'm going to get in and how I'm going to get out. And this is actually like a tip I would use for Wrecking Ball as well, because he's like very similar to Doomfist in like how he gets in and gets out and kills things. Because he's like a very mobility based hero.
Yeah.
So Doomfist, like you want to think, okay, I can do my rocket punch, and I'm going to use the spacebar to cancel, and I'm going to use that to get in, and I'm going to then uppercut on my target, hopefully deal enough damage with my freaking hand cannon, and then I'm going to use seismic slam to get back to my team. So stuff like that. You want to be thinking about how you're going to get in, how you're going to deal damage, and hopefully get a kill, and how you're going to get out. And you also want to be looking for your tank's engagements, because it's hard for Doomfist to do much on his own without other, like, you want to use other heroes on your team to take attention before you go in and do more. So it's kind of like flanking as Tracer. You want to wait for your tanks to engage, and then you want to come from an opposite angle. But as Doomfist, you don't have to come from an opposite angle. You can come straight on and just punch them into a wall or something.
Yeah. We have a question in chat from Night MFN. What rank are you, fellas? So ShockMaster is a GrandMaster player. I myself am not. I'm just the host of the show. So Tyler is the star of the show. This is the guy that we're getting all the info from. I'm just here to engage him. Thanks for coming by, Night. All right, sorry to cut you off there, Tyler. I just want to make sure you acknowledge that.
I was done with that point, but yeah.
Oh, perfect. All right. So let's say someone that's inexperienced with Doomfist, or like a brand new Doomfist player, what would you say is the most common mistake they make, other than like me smashing buttons and not knowing what the heck I'm doing?
Smashing buttons. No, seriously. Like the biggest mistake I see Doomfist use is they use their freaking punch to get in, and they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't gotten the kill yet. And then they pop their seismic, and then they pop their uppercut, and now they have nothing, and they have like four little punch hand cannon things in their clip, and that's all they have. And they have to wait like 2 more seconds before their punch comes off cooldown again, and then they just end up feeding and die. The main thing that you have to think about as Doomfist is, if you don't get a kill, that's okay. Just survive. Like if you fail your combo for whatever reason, don't sweat it. Just come back to your team. It'll be better than you trying to use all of your abilities and get a kill. And just go back to your team and try again, is basically what I'm going to say.
That's a good point. And even if you go in and any damage you cause helps your team, because then someone else, like a Tracer, for example, can come in and finish picking off that hero that you started the damage on. But yeah, get in and get out. Always have an escape strategy playing Doomfist. Get in, get out. I always think about what abilities you're using, and always have a reason for using them. Don't do like first time I played Doomfist, just smashing buttons. I got it. What am I doing? Luckily, it worked out for me in that map that I played. I played the game all golds, but typically that doesn't work out so well. So yeah, don't panic. Calm
don't
yourself.
panic. If you don't get a kill, it's okay. You dealt some damage. Just get the heck out. Go back to your team. Wait for your takes to engage. Try again. Yeah. Don't overcommit to kills is the main thing.
And that we said for really like any hero. Like, don't be stubborn. Just like jump in and then like any hero, always have an escape route. Like when I play any hero, like I know I'm playing against a diva and like I'm expecting them to use their ultimate, I always have like a wall or a doorway or a room in mind that I can quickly get to. I always position myself like with an escape route in mind. And the same thing for Doomfist. Have an escape route. It's always very helpful. Let's see. Ashigar is saying, Doomfist strikes me as a hero you really have to plan the team around. Orisa seems like the tank that would work best around him. Halt with Rocket Punch. Yeah, that would be helpful. I mean, Doomfist is quite versatile. Like, he really works well with a wide variety of heroes. It's also saying Travis would not be good at Doomfist at all. No, actually, no, he might be. Travis is really good at like charging in, just like doing random things. So maybe Doomfist is just here, and he doesn't. I always give Travis a hard time because he's trying to learn to play Reinhardt. He doesn't do it super well. He charges in without his team near him and dies all the time. Charges himself off maps.
Yeah, that's how a lot of Doomfist die too. Charge in without your team and die.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe that would work out for Travis. Maybe he would be a better Doomfist than a Reinhardt, though. All right. Any other tips, Tyler?
Trying to think off the top. Well, okay. A lot of people like to uppercut into a seismic slam, and that is probably like the worst combo you could ever do. And that's because it's just more effective to do. It's more effective to do the seismic slam and then do the uppercut, just because you get the damage in and then you get the uppercut off. And then what you can do after that is you can use the hand cannon to shoot them. And that's like it's the most consistent combo as Doomfist. It's also the easiest to land. You just go in, you seismic, and then you uppercut, you punch, you hand cannon twice, melee, and then you can use your rocket punch and do the jump cancel to get out, basically. And that's the most basic thing you can really do with him. So yeah,
because the for those that forgot, the uppercut does stun for like 0.8 seconds. Doesn't seem like a long period of time, but I mean they just reduced it. It was longer. So I think a month ago, Tyler was telling me earlier, it was reduced at 0.8 seconds, which is still enough time to get some extra hits in there with his hand cannon, for example. But yeah, use it effectively.
Oh, yeah. So that reminds me. So Doomfist's recent nerfs made things a little bit more difficult to land combos. So let me explain this for anyone who didn't actually know about the Doomfist nerf. So Doomfist, his seismic slam got dramatically changed recently to where it doesn't actually pull enemies into them before. So like if you use seismic slam before on a target, they would get pulled closer to you. So then what you could do is you could uppercut while they're pulled closer to you, and they would be like right next to you, and then you could land easy left click headshots. But so you could be like more lenient in how you timed things. So like you could uppercut a little bit late and probably still hit them. But with new seismic slam, the enemy can actually walk backwards as you're like basically like they're being pulled in, but they don't lose air control. So they can just walk backwards and negate the effect. So what you have to do is you have to land the uppercut immediately after the seismic, so that it actually lands it. Or because if you do it late, then it's not going to hit at all. So a lot of people don't know this, but you can actually like queue abilities in Overwatch. So if you like hold down shift or something, or you press shift like right when you're landing as E, it'll do it right when you're able to do it. So like if you press shift early, it will just do the uppercut as soon as the game lets you do the uppercut. So that's a really nice thing that you can do. And then you can do the same thing with your left click too. You can queue the left click, and that will ensure that you're dealing more damage because they're, in theory, less far away from you. So the spread won't be as affected as much. So basically, you just have to do your abilities faster than before.
Yeah, that's really handy that it queues it up a little bit if you pressing the buttons fast enough. Definitely takes some practice. And Tanner's saying, I feel like the handful of times I've played Doomfist, I've only used the uppercut as a movement ability and not so much as a damage ability. Oh, uppercut is so useful.
The uppercut is probably the thing that you should be using for damage the most.
Yeah,
and I would use rocket punch. I want everyone to get that you should use rocket punch for mobility or damage on tanks, and uppercut for damage on squishies, because the rocket punch is a very, very damaging ability, but it's hard to land because you're basically using yourself as a projectile, which is extremely dangerous. And if you miss, you get 0 shields, and you use your highest mobility ability, and you're putting yourself in a position that is probably unfavorable for you if you don't have rocket punch, which you don't because you just used it. So, and using uppercut is really nice because if someone's right next to you and you uppercut in the right direction, it's going to hit them. You're going to get the 35 shields, and you're in the air, so you can do the punch jump easier, and you can seismic slam out easier. So you have you don't have to take as much time to get out, basically.
I really want to touch on how mobile Doomfist can be. He's been compared to as like a combination of Tracer and Fair with his both vertical and horizontal movement he can do. And I think the rocket punch has like a 4-second cooldown, so it's really brief. And so you can zip around, zoom around, and you can go around corners. You can fly across like open chasms, and like you can get around. Like a good Doomfist, like you don't know where they are. Like they're just in out, zipping around. It's nuts. Once you get that movement down, like you're pretty much invincible. Especially with the space bar, the cancel of the rocket punch. Like if you like turn suddenly, and we recommend you don't want a high sensitivity on your mouse to do this. You want a lower sensitivity because you better control the turn. But like with the directions you can suddenly rapidly move in, other players don't expect that, and they likely will not be able to hit you, especially if they have like a projectile that really it matters where they're aiming, because they don't expect you suddenly, because they expect you just to go straight all the time, just straight here, straight there, straight there. But Doomfist can go like straight and suddenly like veer off. And so once you practice that, you basically aren't going to get hit, and you can come in, come out, and without even a scratch on you. And it's really hard to describe. I definitely recommend looking up videos on Doomfist and seeing what you can do with his movement, because it truly is magical. And if you can get his movement down, like focus on movement first, like get your movement in, and then worry about like damaging and killing people. Like go into a custom match or whatever, and just practice the movement and going around corners suddenly. And it's worth the practice. It's worth it. I'm definitely gonna be practicing it more now that I've looked into this more, done some research, and heard it from Tyler. I want to practice the movement because it's magical seeing it happen. So much work, Social. It's worth it though. It's worth it. Doomfist is one of those heroes that even especially in lower ranks, you can really carry a team as Doomfist if you play it effectively. You can climb those ranks really fast.
Okay, on what maps do you think Doomfist has the least value? Is a question in the chat currently. And what I'm going to say to that is Doomfist is not bad on any map. However, his worst situations are in very open areas. So because he's a very close range hero, and he has to rely on his mobility to get places, you really want to be in places that you can get cover after using your mobility to reset cooldowns. But if you're in like a really open area, like for example, after you cap Rialto first, there's this giant freaking street that has infinite widow sight lines that I hate very, very much in high ranks. And that can be very difficult for Doomfist to find time to reset his cooldowns in cover. So he could get poked down really easily in those areas. But I can say that I am able to play Doomfist on any map without feeling like super dead, basically. But you have to be careful in very open areas, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah. Always have a place you can tuck yourself into. So maps like Watchpoint, Gibraltar, or
that's true. Although Gibraltar is nice because it has a lot of places. Like Gibraltar 3rd is hard, but Gibraltar 1st and 2nd has a lot of places for you to reset cooldowns. So it's actually not as bad as you might think.
Mm-hmm. Every map has places you can tuck into.
Yeah.
You just gotta look. You gotta know where they are. Always have an exit strategy. Always on any hero, not just Doomfist specific one. Any hero, always have an
Doomfist, especially, but any hero.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So if there's any other questions, please get them in now. We're getting towards the tail end of the show here, so please ask them. Not every day you have a chance to ask pick the brain of a Grandmaster player. And then let me scroll through chat. So many of you have been active today. How dare? I'm going to have to give away multiple sets of boxes. This is difficult. Oh, man. Okay, something I want to mention is Doomfist. And when you are up on higher ground and you're going to be jumping down and to attack people, try to always position yourself behind them. Like come down like with seismic slam behind them, because they have to take that effort to like turn towards you. And while they're turning towards you, you can position yourself like on the other side of them, and then they don't see where you are, and then they turn around again. And while they're doing this whole like, where's Doomfist? They're gonna die. So be wily, like channel your inner Tracer when playing Doomfist, and just go around them, but yeah, always come down behind them if you can, because then the try and look for you. Asher goes saying, I think recall reading that May's ice wall counts as a wall for rocket punch.
Yes, it does. It does. I play both of those heroes a lot, and yes, it does.
Now,
Very
does rocket punch does it shut down ultimates, or would uppercut?
Yes, it can cancel. Uppercut does not cancel ultimates. Rocket punch does.
Even with its stun.
Uppercut isn't a stun. It just locks their movement for a little bit.
Oh, okay, just a movement.
Yeah.
Sorry, so I shouldn't
rocket punch. Yeah, rocket punch is an actual stun. Yeah.
Okay,
so it works just. Rocket punch works just like Shield Bastion and Flashbang. But uppercut is just a movement lock for a little bit. And what other players besides Doomfist do you play? I play most projectile heroes. I also play off tanks like Zarya and Diva. Mainly right now I'm playing Mei and Hanzo and Zarya are probably my top 3 right now, mainly because of triple tank meta. So yeah.
And I've been practicing Zarya lately ever since I did the Zarya episode on the show, and I am slowly improving, but the bubbles, I'm getting that down. It's difficult.
Bubbles are hard.
I'm trying. I keep wasting them on Reinhardt's, accidentally clicking, and bad times. Bad times all around. So another tip about Doomfist. Oh, it was just on the top of my head. What was it? It was something important too. Oh man. I wanted to say something. What was it? Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, so with uppercut being a movement impairing ability, even though it's only 0.8 seconds, you can actually use that to push people off bridges, off cliffs.
Yes.
Because once you hit them, like they're stuck. They can't do anything. So, like typically, like a hero like Tracer or Diva, like they can generally fly back out of it and be fine. But if for a hero that doesn't have those like movement saving abilities, like they're just all they can do. All you see them is like.
Also, even if they do have movement abilities, so like if you're trying to uppercut a Diva off the map and she starts to use her fly, you can use your rocket punch, and like I said earlier, it's a stun. It'll stun out her fly entirely, and that will boop her off the map. And that's also how you can emulate the effect of old uppercut. So like some of the old uppercut spots don't work anymore because it doesn't stun lock them as much. You can just rocket punch afterwards to just knock them in that direction further, and that can emulate the effect of old uppercut in a lot of ways.
Super handy. So not only is Doomfist like Tracer and fair with movement, it's also similar to Lucia with the boop ability, or even like Arisa has like the ability to like boop people off. So it's a very like compact, powerful toolkit of a hero. I really wish I'm going to practice. I'm not going to wish. I am going to actually make an effort to improve my Doomfist skills because I want to climb. Tanner is complimenting my Zarya plays. I mean, sometimes I have a good play. I use my graviton at the right moment, and I'm really charged up, and I just melt them. Good times. Sometimes I remember to use my ultimate in conjunction with other allies' abilities. Sometimes I remember.
I always tell everyone that my favorite hero is 100 charge Zarya.
Oh yeah, melt everything. And I do
specific favorite hero.
It's not easy for me to get 200 charge, but when I do, oh boy, it is it's fun. So as we're dwindling down here, Tyler, I know I asked this of you in the May episode. I didn't really give you a heads up this episode, but I would like you, if you don't mind, you can always decline. Just kidding, you can't decline. You have to do it and put you on the spot. Can you tell us your favorite Doomfist voice line and your best Doomfist voice?
I didn't ask for your approval.
There we go. That's a good one. He really is a badass character. So hopefully you guys have.
Or no, it was opinion. I didn't ask for your opinion.
There we go. And that's my last
motto.
I didn't ask for your opinion. Yeah, he's sassy. He really is just sassy character.
All the best voice lines to spam.
So let me toss your Twitter and your Twitch up on screen so you can see and find you. Guys, Tyler is super approachable, friendly. If you have further questions, not just about Doomfist, but like Hanzo, Mei, Zarya, he is super friendly, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind having his brain picked outside of these shows. And maybe at some point we'll have him back on for another hero. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see. Gotta get that in there at least one more time. Let's see. Oh, Ash, you have a friend who didn't recognize Doomfist. I find your lack of confidence troubling as a Star Wars reference. That is very much a Star Wars reference. Silly friend. All right, so oh my gosh, there's been some people that have been chatty, so I'm gonna give away 2 sets of loot boxes this week.
Oh wow.
I haven't done that yet.
How
But
generous.
and it's actually people that have been active in other episodes. I just love you guys. You're just always here. So Solsol and Ashigaru, you guys are gonna get some lunar loot boxes in your pockets for hanging out, chatting, asking questions, engaging us, engaging each other. You both are wonderful. So poke me on Twitter so I remember to send those to you right away. And yay, loot boxes! Huzzah!
Get those new skins.
Yeah, those new skins, voice lines, sprays, all those fun things. No, I appreciate you guys being here and supporting the show. I love doing the show. It's great. So on that note, I'm going to sound real salesy here. I don't mean to. I sincerely love BeLive.tv and what they offer. As someone who's been streaming for 3 years, I've used all the main different programs and softwares out there. And I love that BeLive is web-based. You don't need to download any software or anything. And it's super simple to set up. So someone who's brand new to streaming that's overwhelmed by the idea of downloading all these software, setting up different scenes, all these things, BeLive is a great way to get into live streaming and really encapsulates how simple it is to set up. Entirely web-based. You can invite guests on the show by just sending them a link. So you don't need to set up Skype or like a Zoom for video or anything. It's all within the same program. And with BeLive, it's customizable. So if you have a different like logo or color theme you want for your stream, you can absolutely set that up. It shows like the different like follows, bits, subs, whatever on screen for you by default. It's already set up for you. There's different camera layouts you can set up at the click of a button. And like I'll show you a few right here with like Tyler and I. So we can make it smaller. I can make it where I'm big, Tyler's small, or Tyler's big, I'm small. And this is all at a click of a button. And you can show people's comments on screen. Again, a click of a button, and it's just so simple. I can share my screen again at the click of a button, and all these fun things. And there's an agenda in within this web-based platform that I can set up, and that's why throughout the show you saw these things pop up on the screen. I'm not typing these. I just click a button, and they're just all showing up. So really, BeLive is great. If you type !BeLive in chat, you will see. A link to the website. It's actually a free trial. You can try it out. And even the paid version is not expensive, especially for what it is. And I can't give you details, but there's really exciting features coming out within the next few months for BeLive. So BeLive has been on Facebook for a good 2 years, and they're really popular there. They recently came to Twitch, and they're adding a whole bunch of features and excellent things now that they're on Twitch too. Definitely now is a good time to get in on this. And if you type !Discord in chat, you'll be joining the Discord, which I am very frequently in, by the way. So if you want to keep hanging out with me, I'm in there. And there's an awesome community of people, fellow streamers you can bounce ideas off of. You can learn about BeLive. If you want to get the first eyeballs on some of the new features that are being added, we have a focus group we can add you to, and you're in a private channel, and you get to see features and be able to give input on them to help us improve the platform. So if you really like the idea of being in on ground zero and giving your input and feedback and having a platform built around what your needs are, now is a good time to get in that Discord server, hang out, and give your feedback, and just let us know if you want to be in the focus group. So definitely check out those 2 things. And thank you, Tanner, for typing those 2 commands in. And I'm not saying this, I'm not being paid to say this. Like, I sincerely love BeLive. I've used all the other main programs, but BeLive is simple, lightweight, easy to use. It's fantastic. And then Tyler, as a guest, this is your second time using BeLive as a guest. From a guest perspective, like what is your opinion of BeLive and how easy or hard or confusing or whatever? What is your opinion on it?
It seems pretty nice, and I also like how it shows the amount of viewers on there. Just, I don't know, it looks pretty clean too, so that's nice.
Yeah, it's simple. There's not too much on screen, and I can't give too much info on this, but this entire screen that you're seeing, Tyler, is actually going to be entirely changed and look even easier to navigate. Even though it's already super easy, it's going to be even easier with extra features and functions being added in. So guys, check out BeLive if you haven't yet. It's worth it. Just take a look, and you can try it for free. Yeah, and it's not just for talk shows. You can play games and do other things. It's originally designed as a talk show type platform, but it's very versatile in what you can do with it. So sorry for sounding salesy there. I just want to make sure I promote it because it's such a good web-based streaming platform. All right, Tyler, thank you again and for coming out. And I just want to remind people where they can find you. Let me put your info back on screen one more time. Follow him, Twitch, Twitter, ShockMasterOW. If on Twitter, he had to use an underscore, probably because someone stole your other name, didn't they?
No, I just have an underscore.
You just have an underscore just because you want to. I am forced to use an underscore in my name, and I'm always forever salty about it. The person that has my name tweeted twice 5 years ago, and they have my name, and I hate it so much. All right. On that note, let's get that outro video happening. And remember, folks, it's super important to always get on the point.
Up the volume. It's time. Oh, this'll be good. I'll be watching over.